Hi, I'm Tamika Hanna.
And I'm Shahid Mustafa.
And we are
Black English Vernacular on 101.5 KTAL FM every Monday from 9:30 to 10:30 p.m.
Welcome to
Black
English
Vernacular
on KTAL LP 101.5 FM, Las Cruces Community Radio.
That's right. All of that was correct.
With it being our 99th episode,
99.
I figured it should be correct.
Yeah, you did a good job.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. I'll let you do that from now on.
Okay.
Confused.
Yeah.
So here we are, celebrating July 4th weekend, the 250th year anniversary of the Declaration of Independence.
Declaration of Independence.
Because I'm trying to think, it's a lot. I guess that's the thing.
Yeah.
That's the thing that we're talking about, and how that's showing up today, right? How it showed up 250 years ago. We can talk about the irony of the idea of people celebrating independence while at the same time writing into their independence document the status of, or the non free status of enslaved people. So there's some contradiction there that has been pointed out throughout the years.
250?
Some would say, at least from 1776 until 1865, that was literally the case. And so you think about that and you go, wow, man, this is the irony of these folks to be celebrating in the faces of enslaved people, probably making them work and like cook and, celebrating their independence from the British,
Yeah.
while simultaneously enslaving people.
Yeah.
The irony, and I don't think much of that's changed. I mean, we see that today, where people talk about one of the greatest democracies in the world is one that's actually executing a real-time genocide, and so it's like, okay, we can see that. People can see both things, and somehow. Both and that's one of these things I hear people talk about, the ability to both and, right? You can accept both.
Or both things can be true.
Both things, well, but no, it's different than both things can be true.
Oh, this particular situation, I feel, yeah.
A both and is to like two what would be seemingly opposing values at the same time. Right? So you like democracy so much, but you also like a little bit of slavery if it serves you. Or, you like democracy, or you can also stand a little bit of genocide if it's necessary. So and I've seen that, and I've always struggled with this idea. When I was a child, we used to call it two-faced. Used to say, two-faced. You don't have no loyalty. You go with whoever's winning or whoever's making you feel good that day, right? So I think that going back to that dilemma, I think we still face it, and I think in some ways is because we this nation declared its independence with that sort of that ability to both and freedom and slavery at the same time. And since that was woven and written into that document, not directly, like slavery's not in it, but 3/5 compromise is in it, and also the 13th and the 14th. But we know that the thing that still remains from that time is systemic racism.
Absolutely.
And when people say that they don't understand systemic racism and how it exists today, I would say to them, learn the history of the Electoral College.
I just wrote that down.
And,
Electoral politics.
and realize that is a holdover from slavery and the Three-Fifths Compromise.
Yeah. As soon as you said Three-Fifths Compromise, I was like, oh, Electoral College.
Yeah.
Electoral politics that we still use to this very day.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
I think if people say they don't understand systemic racism,
They don't say don't. They just say it doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist.
Because it's not intended in the system to be racism. Which here, this one is. This there was no question as to where this came from. This is one of those things that's a holdover, and it will not let it go. I'm sorry, I've cut you off.
No, it's okay because you're right. You did say, I said they don't understand it, but you're saying like they're just flat out saying it doesn't exist.
Right.
And that's different because if it's something that somebody doesn't understand, are they even trying to understand it? But they're saying it doesn't exist. So that's a refusal to even listen and
acknowledge it.
Yeah, to acknowledge it. So,
yeah. So, 250 years later.
250 years later, freedom 250. That's what they're calling this.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah.
It's really interesting. I think about every 4th of July. I have a tendency, and I started this when back when I lived in Austin, and I would give T-shirts away often. Just I screen print, so give T-shirts away, and my niece started wearing specific T-shirts on. Like today, one year she wore the Read Critical Race Theory. And I'm like, yeah, that's right. Everybody's wearing these, red, white, and blue, very specific, flag shirts.
Right.
And without, of course, not acknowledging that, the harm and the enslavement that this country has and still, putting people through, right? Not the enslavement, but thinking about immigration and, ICE. And now I look forward to wearing, like specifically on, the 4th, a shirt that just completely goes against what people should be celebrating.
So the thing about it to me is like I don't really have an issue with people celebrating whatever they want to celebrate. In fact, I'll be honest, like the 4th of July, my entire life, I never felt like when I was celebrating, I didn't feel like it had anything to do with America. I felt like it had to do with my community and my family and us getting together, and I enjoyed, the fireworks or whatever, but I never made the connection of this, hey, I'm blowing out the candles for the Declaration of Independence, because I was never able to settle with the fact that the land was taken from other people in the first place. Like there's so many contradictions that I was aware of even at a young age that made it hard for me to make it make sense. And because I don't have this both and I don't have this ability to look away from something that's obvious in order to enjoy something that I want to, experience as the reality, right? I don't have the ability to deny the truth in order to like sort of have this tunnel vision reality of what I want to believe. And I don't think I've ever had that. And so it has never been anything to me. And this is even when I was in, I remember being in boot camp. And I remember being happy that it was July 4th because it was a rest day. And because it was like I was going to be able to just relax. And, but it had nothing to do with this patriotism because I always felt like there needed to be a certain amount of reckoning, at least for me, to feel like I was really part of this experiment, right? And so whether it's from all of my personal experiences or whether it's from things that I've learned about history, the awareness that slavery still existed until 1865, like, technically.
Technically.
That part, for me, was always what made it challenging. And I would be fascinated at how many what I understood to be really, patriotic sort of people celebrating it for the fact that it was the independence and that it was like the Declaration of Independence and the forming of the Constitution. All of those things I knew meant something to people. But I also felt like in order for it to mean something to them, they would have had to either acknowledge and agree with all of the things that happened to other people, or they just had to be able to ignore and pretend that those things didn't happen. And I still don't know. Maybe it's like 50-50, or maybe it's both. And like maybe it is like and maybe there are people like honestly, like maybe there are people because it seems like it sometimes that like I talk to people who celebrate the way that this nation was formed in all of its brutality and all of its sort of barbarism. I see people who I feel like that's what they like about it. A lot of them wear red baseball caps. So, well, seems like it. But it just seems like, and maybe that's just a response. Maybe that's what happened from the fatigue of having to face these questions, because I saw that too. Like people just got tired of having to defend themselves. People started not liking wokeness, right? That's the thing. Like wokeness is like a bad word. Somebody can call you woke. It's derogatory,
Yeah.
right? We know where it started. It literally started from people having to be awake while they were driving through this country's south so that they wouldn't find themselves surrounded by the Ku Klux Klan or a lynch mob. So being woke meant pay attention when you're in these areas. And it was for black people also, it grew to just a general awareness of where you are and who you might be surrounded by. Right? So when it came to white people's wokeness, which I assume meant they're recognizing that these things exist in society and they need to be addressed. Now that's something that people have just had enough of. I'm not one of these woke warriors. And I'm like, well, what are you? Are you a sleep warrior or you are anti-woke? What's your position? And it's generally, to me, it's like, oh yeah, you got tired of dealing with that reality. So you created another reality, right? You got tired of having to address this injustice. So you created a safe place for yourself by creating a derogatory perception of the thing that made you question maybe some of your values and some of the things that you did. And so that is how I interpret that. And people say that and they don't know that's what I'm interpreting it as, but I'm seeing them as like, oh yeah, you're a cop out, right? You don't want to be woke, you want to be sleep. So I see them as that, like, oh, you're asleep. We can have this conversation, we can go on and pretend or whatever, but you just really expressed to me that you can't deal with this reality, right? And so anybody who is or challenging you, that's wokeism. That's just too much. It's taking freedom too far. You're going too far, too fast. We got to be slow with this quote unquote progress, right? That's what we're comfortable with. So the idea, because really that's what people are saying right now. All of that freedom is just too much to handle right now. We got to slow down. We got to put this in a place where we can be comfortable with it. Sedate it, sleep, if you will. But back to what we're saying. Happy for it.
Growing up, interesting. I remember how songs you just gravitate toward. Well, I used to sing all the time, the hell out of Born in the USA.
That's about Bruce Springsteen?
Yes,
Yeah.
I used to sing that song so much, but I think I was just like the song. But I remember always feeling uncomfortable at celebrations around the 4th. I remember not liking them. I just, there's just things that don't feel right. Those never felt right. Never was into firecrackers unless me and my brothers were just lighting off some firecrackers. We would always go to this place, I feel like the name is Boomtown, Boomland, and we would always do that. But I do that, in the middle of the fall.
Yeah.
It wasn't tied to a special day. But I remember always, and especially, of course, the older I got, still never felt tied to the day, never. Just always had a feeling like, yeah, this isn't for me.
Yeah.
And I always knew that, And then, of course, just going to school and truly understanding like, oh, wow, okay, this is not for me. It was, and I shared about this in another episode, when I was 15 years old and having my first job, where like I actually got a paycheck, versus doing odd and end jobs. And it was that job that I realized I never wanted to work. And it was the woman and how she, and being a young black girl and just feeling that, like when you feel it, you can't unfeel it. You can't unremember it, And yeah, I never. And interesting, I want to go back to you saying you don't mind people celebrating. I've always wanted people to acknowledge, because I feel like similar to what you're saying, people are okay with being asleep. I've always wanted people who I see, like celebrating and everything to please acknowledge the harm that this country continues to do, And yeah, I feel like people are very, very comfortable not acknowledging what needs to be acknowledged for for us to, I say, move forward, for like you were saying, progress. I think people, if they benefit from the system that we're living in, of course, they're not going to want anything to. They're not going to want to talk about anything that changes that. But I also think about like veterans who, yes, who have literally given up so much for this country, and who have, been patriotic and gone to wars and come back, and it's hard for them to even get benefits, to even be seen, and it goes back to, I mean, very different, but similar to what you were saying earlier, like both things are happening, So you have veterans who have experienced and continue to experience PTSD when fireworks go off. Fireworks for days, not just the 4th. It can, there, as soon as July starts, those fireworks are going off. And I have to ask, okay, so what about the people who have been patriotic to this country? It seems like they're comfortable with quote unquote patriots, like Patriot, is it called Patriot Front? The ones who were
the white supremacists.
Yes, the white supremacist group.
Are those the guys with the white masks?
Yeah, that were
the
marching.
That were in DC. Were they in DC?
Yeah, they were in DC yesterday, and I want to say went to the National Mall and to the Freedom.
The Freedom
250 festival.
Freaknik.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, and I think about these festivals, right? The last one was what's that wrestling?
UFC at the White House.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think about this, and I'm like, it feels like these things are, if anything, they're not respecting the White House and the property. I mean, of course, having making a ballroom. I'm like, I feel like they're
desecrating.
Yes. So it's so much irony, But they're saying, oh, these immigrants are doing this to our country, yet, and just a couple of events,
And 2 events. Well, this last one, because where was it? Was it at the White House? Or was it at the mall?
National Mall?
No, yeah, it was at the National Mall.
It was
right?
at the National Mall.
Yeah. And so I remember being in DC on the 4th of July. At the National Mall, near the Washington Monument, like that place would be packed. Like you would just, if you weren't trying to go there, you were definitely trying not to be around there, because the traffic, like everything about it, it was like the traffic on on the metro, public transportation, like everything was almost to a standstill, right, for the fireworks show. And so everything sort of leading up to that, I don't know how you can have an event around that time that's not completely packed, because just people setting up, getting ready for it, like that kind of stuff that used to be something that people would be jockeying for a place to set up their, lawn chairs. And so when I saw the images of the lack of participation, of course the weather, but that didn't just really stop people then, because people would expect, like, maybe this weather is gonna, calm down. People would take shelter. People would be in buildings. As it turns out, people were. But Yeah, people would take shelter in other places. People would hang out in the metro. Like if it was raining, people would go down to the nearest metro station and just wait it out, which could have, been a disaster. But I think that the fact that there was that event where there was dismal participation speaks maybe to some people's awareness, or maybe people are just tired. They're just tired of the shenanigans of this guy, and it's just like, go away, man. Like, we don't want any more of your cartoonish, like, carnival style leadership. Like, you're a carnival barker. That's what you are. It's very obvious right now. You're a carnival barker. And people with integrity and people who are, smart and have better things to do with their time don't want to be following or even adjacent to this kind of leadership. Like it's hard for them to get people to be on stage for fear of damage to their reputation, right? Like who's performing at this thing that anyone knows? I think they had like Kash Patel's girlfriend singing the national anthem. She's a country music star. Nobody knows her name.
No, I had no
But
idea.
she's pretty famous, apparently.
Really?
Yeah. So that 4th of July, I remember that, the 4th of July in DC, it's a big thing. Like people are there because they put on the show, like the fireworks show and all of the sort of national monuments, all of the things around there, whether it's the Lincoln Memorial or the Washington Monument. Like people are there to, in that way, remember the history of this country, right? So it would seem like that would be an easy thing to pack the house. It would be just like, yeah, it's going to be 4th of July weekend leading up to, it looked like they had things priced expecting that a lot of people would show up because that, they didn't take into consideration the challenges maybe that people are having financially. But that, what was it called? National Fair or County Fair or Country Fair?
What just happened? Or
Right,
Freedom?
yeah.
I think it was just the Freedom 250
The Freedom
Fair.
250.
I mean, like,
And so that
I feel
thing
like
had
that's
been-
it.
So that thing had already been planned. And then it got co-opted by the carnival barker. And I don't know enough about it. I probably shouldn't talk about
The
it.
Great American State Fair, Freedom 250.
Correct. So apparently that had already been planned. And then it got taken over by this administration. And this administration did what it does to stuff. Mm-hmm. And so, so you had, there's a photo circulating around of a young black girl sitting on the train with a bunch of the, what are they called?
Patriot
the Patriot Front, the guys with
Patriot
the white
Front?
mask
Yeah.
and the beige caps and the blue shirts and
Completely masked up, so you don't see no parts of.
yeah, and I'm always wondering because these guys show up, and I can only imagine like the point is to, similar to the Ku Klux Klan, the point is to intimidate and in some ways terrorize the community, right? But that's the community that they consider in opposition or the problem. I'm wondering how it affects the communities that they come from. Because all these people go back home somewhere, right? All these guys in the white mask and the hats and the shades and the bags and stuff, goose stepping through the town, they all go home to somebody. They all go back to a community. And is that community throwing them a party? Is that community patting them on the back that they did a great job? Like, that's what I don't think about this stuff. I think about where they go back to. What are they teaching their kids? What did they learn? Who taught them that? How are they affecting? Are they law enforcement? Are they firemen? Are they people in authority? Is that why they hide their face? Because they have actual positions of authority. So when we talk about things like institutional racism, are these the kind of people who sit on county commissions, who make decisions about what kind of people get access to resources? Are these judges? Are these public defenders and prosecuting attorneys? Are these policemen? Who are these people? What is their community? Where are they going back to? So when you see these kinds of things, I'm not necessarily concerned about that little girl because she knows where she is. She's at home. She knows these are passers-by. And she probably also knows what's not in that picture is the rest of the people on that train. And those people know it as well. If they do anything to harm that child, they still have to get out of that subway station. They will not. Some of them will. But no harm is coming to that child, right? And it's not because of their morality. It's because of the reality that they know exists in the place that they are, right? And it's also, those are not people who are taking that train probably to that girl's neighborhood. They're not going that far, right? Because I've seen this kind of thing before in DC. There's these like sort of magical make the white people disappear stops. Like there's just like you're cruising along and then you turn around and you go, hey, where'd all these people go? Right? It was the same in Chicago. There's certain places where it's just like, nope, white people don't go past that stop. And so I know that's the same in DC, where there are certain areas where it's just like, that's it. Last stop. They might as well announce it. Last stop for the white people. You sure you want to go forward? It's their own fear, though. I don't think anything really happens, but it's something that you see. But going back to this, because this is really what I think we're dealing with, going back to our 250th year of independence. If it was woven into the fabric of the document that you created, if it was a part of it, why are we expecting it to not be something that we're still contending with today? And how do we expect that everybody is able to celebrate this equally?
This picture makes me think of, again, the irony of it all, right? Like, look at this picture 250 years later with what I feel is a white supremacist group, another form of a KKK clan, right? Mm-hmm. It's just like, wow, how far we have come. It's so, and I think about the person who was taking this picture. They probably saw this and just knew, like, oh, I'm getting this shot. But immediately I see this black girl, and interesting hearing your perspective, like, she's protected. And immediately I'm thinking, like, what is going through her mind, surrounded by all of these, she may or may not have known they were a white supremacist group, but of course, I mean, I look at a bunch of, white men and white face masks. Of course, I'm thinking you all are white supremacists. And still, you never know when somebody's going to jump off and just do something disgusting and horrible. And so I can't help but think about her well-being, even if there are people around. I don't see the other people, so immediately you think about, okay, let this little black girl be safe, right? And but so I'm glad you're looking at it like, no, they're not showing the other people, but there are definitely other people around watching her. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, yeah. And going back to what you were saying about what communities are they coming from? Are they, in this job, that job? I think, of course, we've seen and heard of police officers, tattoos showing that they're a part of
the Department of War, I guess now. Pete Hegseth.
Is that what it's called? Yeah.
He's got him some nice
There
white
you go.
racist tats.
There you go. That right there.
Yeah, he's into it.
He's into it. And going back to, thinking about how this country votes. For me, lets me know that wherever they're going to, they're okay with it.
Right.
Because look how this country votes.
Right.
They are 100% okay with it. I think about the Kyle Rittenhouse. They're okay with it. Like, they're all okay with this.
Yeah.
And this, also, right now the World Cup is happening. And I think about how other people are looking at this country and who have had challenging experiences since they've been here. And it makes me think about how many people will want to come back. If we are celebrating 250 years of independence. Mm-hmm. Independence. How many people have been here for the first time and have said, "Oh yeah, I'm never going back there." This land of the land of the free, home of the brave. Is that what they say? Yeah. Like how many people are just not going to make their way back here. So I also want to talk about one other thing dealing with the what was it called again? The the Great American
Fake out.
the Great American State Fair. And how there weren't a lot of participants, and like you said, different from the years that you've experienced. But I also want to talk about the weather conditions and what happened during this Great American State Fair. They had severe weather conditions and had to find shelter. And the place that they sheltered was the National Museum of African American History. Irony. The effort of not being woke and not wanting to know history, wanting to erase African Black history, all the things that this group of people who participated with at this fair, everything they're against, yet they end up
Having to take shelter.
having to take shelter.
Did they look uncomfortable? Were they begrudgingly, or were they laying their behinds around once again, living off the labor of the people they call lazy?
Wow, that's something to really for me, it's like this is just it's I feel like a way of just the universe, if you will, just to say like,
Just
no,
a
we
little
go,
chuckle. A little
yeah,
chuckle from the
like
universe.
yes, like the sense of humor, and I feel like this isn't the only time I've seen something like this. There's so many occasions where there's just a great sense of humor, like,
I'm surprised
yeah,
the fire alarm didn't get pulled
for
in the museum once they got in here. I would have thought somebody would have made a mistake and pulled the fire alarm, so they had to evacuate. Like, nope. Go to the White House. I hear they got this ballroom, and they might have
oh
a.
my goodness, you should. Yeah, why didn't they go to the
Go see
ballroom?
your mans over there.
Why didn't they go to the ballroom? Well, it's still under construction, I believe.
Yeah.
But yeah, that I haven't. I should look for a photo of how to see how uncomfortable they were, and maybe they weren't.
I saw a photo. I don't think they were uncomfortable.
Yeah,
I saw them sprawled out on the floor, laying around.
really.
Yep. That was, but I mean, maybe it wasn't just red hats. Maybe it was everybody. Maybe it was more equal in participation. It's just the irony, though, because this is a place that this man attacked.
Yes, he did. What did he say he was going? What did he say he was going to shut it down? I
No,
feel like
he was. I think he was just intent on taking a lot of things out there that people might have found offensive about U.S. history. It was too woke. It was woke, and it was too celebratory of African Americans in the African American History Museum.
yeah.
It talked about too much discrimination and brutality and slavery. He wanted a more upbeat story. And I think
Yeah, yeah.
there's something to that. You know, when was that? When was it that he was trying to do that?
He was doing that in 2025, March of 2025.
Yeah, so that was one of the first things that he wanted to hurry up and do. And then, of course, they want to get a lot of people, a lot of DEI hires cleaned up, and that was part of that effort as well. So I think that, you're right. Sometimes the universe just has a way of exposing the people, and I think we're at a point where even with what's going on right now with AI, right? There's a lot of information that is getting through. There's a lot of notions that are being challenged, right? I think younger people are waking up. I think as they wake up, the pressure is on. You're seeing some shifting. You're seeing people decide to spend their time in different ways. I mean, I have to be honest, like even and maybe it's because I don't live in the same neighborhood, but even listening to the amount of firework pollution that I've had to endure the last few years around the 4th of July, there's less of that. Could be because of the price of everything else. They don't have as much money to spend on things that you're literally going to blow up, right? And you're not the Defense Department. But I think that there is some wokeness happening to some degree. And I think some of that is being reflected in people's ability to just not participate, right? Sometimes the best way to protest is to just not participate. You don't need to call it a boycott. You don't need to do anything. You can just say, you know what? I'm done with that. I'm finished with it. I don't need to make a big stand. I don't need. It doesn't really require of me a lot to just not play the game.
I was woken up the other night at 2 o'clock in the morning because of some fireworks. So you're right. They're not going, as we say that, there goes one right there.
Sorry,
Yeah.
sorry guys. So,
Yeah, though, you're right. There hasn't been as many fireworks as I've been used to in the past also, since I've lived here. But no, one woke me up the other night. I was a little, challenged with that. It's interesting that you talk about, a lot of the young people waking up and being more just aware and to what's happening, to what's going on. And yeah, I definitely think that's important. I think about my now 16-year-old nephew who in middle school was very much, aware of like, yeah, this isn't, they're not teaching us right, who's a kid who wouldn't be on the internet that much, just moving through life, and I had to say, you being around a lot of young people, at the farm, and probably having some really, I'm guessing, thought-provoking discussions. You probably firsthand see it, like, oh yeah, these people who are coming out and focused on working with the land are really tuned into what's needed to change the trajectory of where we're going. Actually, and also seeing how many young people are really involved in the efforts to bring awareness to what's really going on with these data centers and here in town, Project Jupiter. So yeah, I definitely see that. But I feel like the youth are always on fire, always at the forefront of this needs to change.
They're the wokies.
Yeah.
They're the ones that are woke.
And then they grow up. And sometimes, like, yeah, this is a hard fight.
They get tired being woke and wear you out, No, I think the thing that I'm seeing with a lot of young people is I am seeing them engage and participating and choosing to be active, not just in protest, but in, like you say, when I get volunteers on the farm, the ones that are consistent have identified that as a way for them to make a contribution, right? And especially now that we're at a place where we can actually bring a lot more food to the community that has less capacity to afford it. I think that's inspiring. I think people want to be a part of that. So I think that, and that's who's showing up. I mean, it's great. And there are also people who are showing up because, they need to get paid. And so they got some hours. They know there's some hours available for those people. Not a lot, folks. Not a lot. I mean, if you want to donate to that effort, that'd be great. I'd love to pay some more folks. But donate time. I mean, I'm not selling nothing. We're not selling nothing here on the show. Everything's free. You know what I mean? Everything's always free. Let's deal with that. Stay with that reality too. So I think that what we're seeing in the community is that people are growing and changing in their awareness of what the paradigm is. And perhaps at this point, at 250 years, we are moving to the place where people can deal with some of the hard realities of what actually happened and maybe consider that in order to form a more perfect union, emphasis on union, like all of us being a part of it, maybe we need to deconstruct some things and reshape some things so that everyone feels equally important and significant and able, to show up with that spirit, that celebratory spirit of what these 250 years represent. Because I'm at the point where I think a lot of people would be able to move on from some of what happened in the past if they weren't constantly seeing reminders of those efforts in the present.
Oh, right there.
Because we haven't done the work of repair, of building up something from that. We tried maybe for about 7 years.
Oh, when were these 7 years? Oh,
Reconstruction era.
okay.
From 1865 to 1872. That was all they could take. I don't really know if it was that long. Whatever it was just like, try this. We feel uncomfortable. This is way too woke for us. And so then they, reversed it. Came back, said, sorry, South. Here's your land back. Matter of fact, here's some reparations because we took away your property. And, here's some black codes and some Jim Crow laws, and throw in a couple of night riders and some race riots, and we get things back to how they great again, how they were supposed to be, So I think that's the challenge that we have. I know it's the challenge that I have, and it's part of why it has been hard for me to celebrate that. And when I think about other people's experience with that, what are people calling upon black people, brown people, indigenous people? What are they inviting to? What are they inviting us to in this celebration? Because it's not a celebration of, to me, overwhelming progress and achievement based on the ability to try to repair relationships, right? They're mostly inviting us to their success in the perpetuation of systemic racism.
Interesting. I thought of something when you were like it was a day to get together with family, right? And and I remember like my summers I spent growing up. I spent in Chicago. We'd always have a big barbecue, and I don't ever think it was on the 4th of July. I don't ever remember seeing a red, white, and blue anything. But I think about families that do get together, and I'm like, yeah, they have the day off. You know, of course they get together. Of course.
Yeah.
And I think, and it makes me think about how people are always, you'll hear people within the Black community talking about not inviting
People to the cookout.
people to the cookout, not inviting white people to the cookout. You know,
They got to prove themselves.
they gotta prove themselves, and
Oh.
it makes me think about today, or really this whole weekend. But when you just said like, what are like how is our participation within this, and immediately I thought Black people have served, and they continue to want us to serve as entertainment. And
Military.
yeah, okay, military.
For sure.
If we have anything to say about, enslaved Black people, that that's shut down. So, and I'm sure they're okay with us cooking, hoping for an invite, to the cookout. I can't think of much else,
Well, so I wouldn't say it's shut down. I mean, just be honest. Like here we are on the radio talking about it
Yes.
right now, right?
I get that, yes.
We talk about it a lot, right? So
About
it's not,
racism?
Oh yeah,
Yeah, we do.
yeah.
I had no idea.
We probably talk about that more than anything else on Black English vernacular. But what I would agree, there's still some gatekeeping that happens. We have to continue to press forward. We have to continue to deep dive into the issues, because I think that's what's important. And I know recently we were thinking like maybe this audience isn't really the audience for us, right? Based on what it seems like, right? Based on the feedback. But I think that the reality is we have to continue to hold everyone's feet to the fire, and we have to continue to try to educate and communicate as best we can, given the opportunity that we have. So,
You can go.
Happy 250th, whatever this was, folks. And thanks for listening to Black
English.
Vernacular.